Presented by That Time I Got Reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster, this is Shonen Jumping the Gun, the show where we set our sights on the first chapter of a manga and decide if it's a misfire or a bullseye.
Let's see how many rounds are in this magazine.
On today's episode, Martial Master Asumi! Welcome everybody, it is I, Kermit the Grog, your battle-tested host, joined by my tough-as-nails co-host, Brad Isekai Sensei-Sama.
What's up?
Gonna put you in a headlock.
Or maybe more appropriately, what's up? Everybody just, it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. Violence? I don't like violence until I like violence. Today on Shonen Jumping the Gun, we're talking about Martial Master Asumi, MMA, a pun that I learned is not present in the original Japanese, even though I thought it would have been. But hey, here we are. If you couldn't guess, this is a manga about MMA. A boy learning that he likes MMA and he wants to get into it because
could you imagine if it wasn't about MMA?
It'd be a very strange coincidence.
Yeah.
So, Brad, as somebody who read the first chapter, I should probably say, this one of the ones we've covered recently has actually been going for a while. We have finished out the most recent batch, and we are reaching back to the batch prior now.
Because we have to record stuff as often as possible.
Also, we don't get new batches of Shonen Jump manga.
That's true.
It's maybe 2 to 3 times a year, so you get through them quick.
For those of you who are listening right now, we're actually this episode probably won't be coming out for 2 months.
You just want to pull the curtain that far. So Martial Master Asumi has been running for a while. It started back in June 18th of 2023, and at time of recording, there are 17 chapters out.
Nice.
It's doing pretty good. So now
I say nice, except there's a huge problem, which is, and this is a secret, don't tell anybody, I haven't actually signed back up for Viz yet.
What?
Because
what are you doing?
They took the payment off of the website, which is where I read stuff.
They put it...
And it's only on the app now. And I only just today installed the app again.
Yeah, I love the app. So, Brad, regale us with what happened in Chapter 1 of Martial Master Asumi.
So, this series follows a high schooler, and I forget his name already, but I want to say...
I don't care about the names. I never care about the names.
Or Kai, something like that, of the Asumi family. That I remember.
There you go.
And he is one of, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 siblings.
He's got a lot of siblings.
In a fatherless household where...
But granddad lives there.
Yes, they live with his grandfather who has fairly bad dementia. The father's gone. The mom has to work all the time to support everybody. The eldest sister, who is 23, stays at home because she has a remote job and she takes care of everybody because she has the time to do that and the ability. So they're a fairly close family, although the 2 youngest siblings are a little aloof. And the eldest brother, who I think is younger than the older sister, is also sort of gone out of the picture.
Okay, you have not met him yet.
Okay.
So
the main character that we're following is actually sort of the best at taking care of granddad. And we will find out later on that part of that comes from the fact that he blames himself for his grandfather's condition. Unnecessarily, but
yeah.
So what we find out as we follow him to school is that he gets bullied a lot, although he doesn't really take it as bullying, even though it very obviously is.
He does not like conflict. He does not like conflict. I think even very early on, he specifically says, I don't like violence.
Yeah. And so his best friend hates seeing him get picked on, even though it doesn't seem to affect him at all. And his best friend says, hey, let's join a fighting gym and let's get stronger and we'll be able to protect ourselves.
Yes, I think he finds a specific MMA gym that is nearby.
Right.
It's like, let's go check that out.
And our main character is like, we don't need to do that. It's not a problem. Like, they'll talk to us and then they'll go away. Everything will be fine. But his friend's like, no, look, let's just do this. So they go to this gym, or rather, they're on their way home. And his friend is like, the gym is right here and we should go there. And they're on I guess it's the subway, but I think it was above ground.
The train.
A train. Anyway. And the bullies show up and they're like, hey, give us some money. You're our friend, right? You'll loan us money, right? But they get found that they are being recorded by an older girl who goes to their high school, who is like, oh, this will be really interesting for everybody to see. And so they change their focus to her and they're like, give us that phone or we'll take it by force, and all the classic bully bullshit. And they go to try and take it from her. And she's like, oh, this is justification. And goes to roundhouse kick the main bully.
You've entered my self-defense sphere.
Our main character intervenes and gets kicked in the face instead.
He does not like violence. He does not like conflict.
Yeah. So because he gets kicked in the face, they're like, well, we got to get this taken care of. You're bleeding or whatever. And they end up at this gym. It turns out that the gym that his friend wanted to go to is where this girl goes all the time, because she apparently is really into fighting.
I believe her dad runs it.
I think that's right.
I think that is both true and that you know that.
And so they're like, well, let's see what you can do.
Yeah.
Like, we're here. Let's do this, right? And our main character, he doesn't really want to do this. But he gets in the ring and basically sort of lets himself get beat up. We don't know it at the time, but he is letting it happen. And then his phone alarm goes off because he needs to get home because his granddad is going to be home from adult daycare and he needs to take care of his granddad.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I got to go. And he runs off. As he's walking home, the bullies show up again and they pull him into a back alley and they're like, listen, this is all your fault. You need to get the phone from that girl so we can delete that video off of there. And he's like, I can't do that. Like, that's stealing, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, the girl has followed our main character because he forgot his coat, I believe. And she's like, he's just going to the train station. I need to run and catch him
to get him his stuff.
And so she finds them down this alleyway and she hides at first. And when our main character finally says very firmly, I'm not going to do that to you, or I'm not going to do that, and that guy's my best friend, I'm not going to betray him or whatever, they're like, well, we're going to kick your ass then. And so they go to actually punch him, which is the first time they have actually tried to attack him that we have seen. And he defends himself and absolutely obliterates these bullies.
I believe through grappling, correct?
Some grappling. He has knowledge of boxing. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And what we find out is that his grandfather is actually a master at a dojo. And he's been training with his grandfather for a long time.
That's his way of spending meaningful time with him, is that
Right.
He's been sparring with his grandfather this whole time.
And also, when they are in the dojo, his grandfather is lucid. So there's a very sort of deep connection there, because if he can spend time with his grandfather there, where in his lucid space, it's much more meaningful than just sort of the blank stare and confusion that he normally has at home.
Who's who and all that, which he's admittedly still has a little bit during training. So
Right. And we find out the reason the dad's not there is because he died in a car accident. And when that happened, our main character was distraught. And the grandfather tried to connect with him through learning how to fight.
Martial arts.
Which he rejected very strongly. And right after that, the grandfather started showing signs of dementia. And so the main character blames himself for his grandfather sort of losing his mind, because he thinks, well, I was so distraught with grief and my grandfather lost his son. And so he lost his mind to grief because I didn't connect with him. And so that's how they get into this, where he's spending time with him by learning how to fight.
Yeah, he's been picking up all this information even though he doesn't like fighting. So it's very like reluctant hero kind of thing.
So our main character finally gets home. He goes to the dojo where the grandfather's waiting, and the grandfather immediately is like, you fought, didn't you? It was great, wasn't it? And the main character's like, yeah, it was pretty great.
Yeah, we joke a little bit. Like, he is still a little apprehensive, but you can see finally the gears turning of like, actually, no, I had a great time.
Yeah.
Even though he's constantly somebody who, I think they say at the beginning as well, he's like, I don't like causing a fuss. I don't want people to notice me. I just want to be able to easily and calmly get through life.
Right. So that pretty much sets up what I suspect is the whole series. I only read the first chapter.
Yeah, that's the whole point of Shonen Jumping Gun.
That's my job.
Yes. Good plot review or plot summary. So, what did you think of Martial Master Asumi?
So I'm not into fighting at all.
No?
Yeah, like at all. Like at all.
You, much like the main character, do not like violence.
And, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not into actual fighting. I'm into like fantasy fighting, magic and swords and hyper martial arts and stuff like that in fantasy series. I'm not into...
Not grounded combat, not
Right.
literally on the ground, because MMA has a lot of that, but like...
I took Taekwondo when I was young. I think I did it for like 2 or 3 years. And the first time I got kicked in the face, I was like, I'm done.
Yes, yeah, that happens to a lot of people.
I really love this series.
This is genuinely of recent manga that started in Shonen Jump, probably this year. I'd have to double check. It's probably my favorite of the things that have premiered this year. I love it. It is Kermit catnip. I like the general story. I like all the emotional stuff. The girl they introduce, it just tickles a part of my brain, and it's just like, she's the cutest and she's the coolest, and I just want to follow her, and I just want her to think I want her to think I'm cool. And that gives it a lot of energy, because sometimes the love interest is like, who's this? I don't care about this. Yeah. And instantly you see her, and she's got the glasses, but she also has the little spiky tooth, but she's got the bang. And it's just like, oh my gosh, all these things together made a super combo. And now my brain's just like, yes, dopamine.
It was really
But
interesting.
also she's like cool, because she's the upperclassman, and she's in some ways better than he is. And she loves fighting.
Yeah.
In like in an MMA, not just like, oh, violence, combat, but like through MMA of the working at it and that in the heat of the moment of battle, like, and it's like, yes, like.
I thought it was interesting the way that they set up her character, because she sort of embodies multiple archetypes in one. And they set up ahead of time. They're sitting in their classroom and they're like looking at pictures of girls in bikinis like teenage boys do. And they're like, which one do you like? And our main character points at the one with the glasses. And they're like, oh, you're so weird, right? And then he bumps into this girl who looks like a nerd. She's got pigtails. She got the big glasses on.
But she's got the spike tooth and the bang, the little thingy.
The thing is, I didn't notice the spike tooth at first. I didn't notice that until later on.
Oh my gosh.
It was probably there, but I didn't notice it because I was like, oh, look, the nerdy girl, but she's got glasses, so he'll be into her. So then later, when it turns out, oh no, she's into fighting stuff, which they give you a hint of, because when he runs into her, he does this roll and gets back on his feet, and she's like, nice, whatever the move is called, and you're like, oh, she maybe
knows something.
But I thought that was really interesting how they did, like, oh, she's a nerd, but she's really into fighting and she can hold her own, and like it's a nice dichotomy that they have going there. So I'm interested in her as a sort of a main character and potential love interest.
Yes. She again, hi, here's my future site. Like, she does have main character, like, moments and time. Mm-hmm. She is not the mainest character, but she's like the side main character. You will follow her and see her pursuits and how she's feeling at times, but by and large, you're following our male main character. But yeah, I I can't stop gushing about it. This also scratches an itch, and it did from chapter 1 of I am dying for a pro wrestling manga. And this scratches that itch a little bit because I just find, I don't like fighting myself, but just years of watching pro wrestling, I love the art of combat. And I guess I'm somebody who doesn't do MMA really, but because this is a story about MMA, every fight is a story.
Yeah.
So it essentially is pro wrestling because every fight is fixed because a writer is writing it. And you have different characters showing up. And again, this is a lot of... I'm gushing because I have future vision and I love it so much. And I think it has a really strong start. It's the thing that I get mad at other Shonen Jump series starting where it comes in, it introduces the characters, it introduces the emotional hooks, it introduces just that this is cool hooks. Like, it gives you everything you need. I'm not trying to grasp at straws of going, okay, maybe it'll go here or there and then it'll become something. It's like from moment 1, you get the sensation of here's our bedrock and here's where we're going. So we've talked about before, sometimes chapter 1 is really cool and then chapter 2 shows the author doesn't know where they want to go at all. But this one you can feel this like trustworthiness of like, oh, you're setting things up and you are going somewhere. And it's so nice to have that on a chapter 1, to have that feeling. And again, maybe this is my little sixth sense X factor. Maybe it's just me. Maybe other people have it. I don't know. That sensation of you have an idea. You know exactly where you're going. And that's fun.
Yeah. Again, I'm not into combat sports in general, but this it was really compelling to me. I liked the characterizations. I liked the family. I liked the relationship with his granddad and the baggage that was there and the way that it was exploring that. I liked the way that he was with his best friend and the way he, looked at that girl and was like infatuated with like everything that it did. I was like, this is great. The art, nothing special, but very competent.
I like the art. I think because I like the character designs a lot.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I didn't think most of them were fairly standard, but like there were certainly some, like the main character has a distinct look.
I like that he's not just protagonist-son.
Yeah.
He kind of looks a little bit like the electric kid from My Hero Academia.
Yeah, I can see that.
A little bit. Like I like that he's got a neat design. He is somebody.
But
his best friend kind of has a little bit of protagonist-son look, but I like that better. For the best friend.
The mangaka did a really good job of sort of the conveyance of motion and like when they were actually in a heightened situation of like the way they did the camera angles and everything. So like very solid as far as the art is concerned.
Yeah.
It's not sort of like an art piece as far as like, getting into like a JoJo or something like that. But it's like, this is conveying this story.
It's doing exactly what it needs to. And like I said, anytime that girl shows up and I'm just like, yes, thank you. I want to see them fight in a meaningful way. And it'll be hopefully we get to live that long. So with that, Brad, where do you think it'll go? Give me a prediction maybe of either where you think it'll go or where you want it to go.
Well, as a sports manga, I think this is going to go the same way that we see them all go.
Splice in the thing you said from last episode.
Exactly.
Except then edit over ice with MMA.
He'll get into it. He'll start, training a lot more. He'll see that his grandfather is really happy with what he's doing. Their relationship will grow better. The grandfather will probably die at some point, and that'll be an emotional thing he's got to deal with. He's going to train with this girl. He's going to train with his friend. There'll probably be some arc where his friend is getting down on it because the main character is so much better than he is, but then they have to like work together and grow emotionally, and so his friend will grow. He'll grow closer to the girl. They'll go to competitions. He'll probably win the first competition easily, and then they'll go to another competition, and it'll be like real competition, and he'll get his ass beat by some bigger guys, and then he'll have to buckle down and work hard, and then come back and win, and standard stuff.
I can neither confirm nor deny the accuracy of all of your statements. But maybe some of them were kind of accurate. Yeah, again, can't predict it. Already have seen the future. Love the future. Love where it is that now. small spoiler alert, surprisingly emotionally, I guess, mature. Like, everybody in the world, like, you think it's going to be one thing, and then it's just like, oh, you're actually just a human being that feels a certain way and not just some insane antagonist to just to drive plot. And it makes things, like, really interesting and compelling. It's like, oh, yeah, they would, yeah, that make, yeah. There's a lot of, like, oh, yeah, cool.
So, hey, if you've read the series, listener, jump on our Discord and tell me if I got those predictions right or wrong.
Yeah. Or you could just keep reading. Also, big shout out to this one. If you like muscle girls, MMA's got your back, babe. Hell yeah. So with all that out of the way, Brad, what is your ending vote on Martial Master Asumi? So going from certified flop, which is a grave you would spit on, up to flop where it does not live. It'll live, which is, it'll get past that, maybe 50 to 100 chapters. Hit, which is, it's a hit. It'll probably get an anime. It'll, hundreds of chapters. And then the Supernova, which is like a Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, or My Hero Academia that, like, changes the, like, path of the industry and is a giant, long-running moneymaker side story spinning machine. What do you think MMA is?
I'm going to do it. I'm going to call this a supernova.
Brad, you wound me, but not intentionally.
Why is that?
I'm gonna. Hi, everybody. Here's very serious Kermit knowing the future for a moment. Martial Master Asumi on the Shonen Jump rankings. Not doing great week by week. Not having good sales.
Oh.
Makes me very sad because it's still one of my faves.
See, I figure
this is the weirdness of Shonen Jumping the Gun when I can see in the future farther and I can start going, oh guys.
My thought
sad
on this
voices, sad Kermit,
is that this is filling a niche that is currently empty, in that it is a sort of high energy sports thing that is in between just a normal sports manga and a fighting shonen.
A battler, because fighting is a part, the mechanics of fighting is a part of it.
And so I can see this one really taking off.
There's been talk that sports manga are dead in Shonen Jump. They're just not a thing that are popular anymore. And I don't know. Everybody then goes, what about Haikyuu? And I go, I don't know. I didn't read Haikyuu. I can't speak to that and why it was popular at the time it was. So
what is that about shaking your fist at Japanese teenagers?
Yes, this one, there's a couple others where I kind of do that. And this is the one where it's like, I will genuinely shed tears. I will be sad and pissed off, but we'll see. It's not yet. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I would say a hit. Back. You can check my. Hi, if you want to play at home, you can go to the Shonen Flop Discord and find out where I run the flop pools, where you can play with us when a new manga starts. You can put your vote in, and we put it on my big Google Doc, and then a couple chapters later, we look back and we see how silly we all were. Or maybe we were right on the money. Who knows? So I put down a hit. I loved it. I thought it was going to be solid. The future makes fools of us all. Though I don't think MMA, I had not started the flop pools at that point, so, So you can come play the next one, but I do believe I said it was a hit. It's like one of my favorite of the new crop we got this year. So, and I guess of the question on top of that always, which again, I think we already know the answer. Brad, would you keep reading Martial Master Asumi?
I am going to pay to keep reading this.
Yes, it's worth it. It's worth it. I love it.
I have been skating for a while now on not paying for Viz, mostly because they pissed me off by taking the payment method off the website and making you do it completely through the app. And I always was like, at some point, I'll do it again, but I'm caught up with all these series, and there hasn't been a point yet. But this one has locked chapters. So yeah. I'm going to do it. I'm going to pay for the subscription again, because why not? It's cheap. I was just being petty. But this is going to make me get back on the horse.
High read recommend. And myself, I guess, again, I read all the things we talk about usually, but Martial Master Asumi is usually like right behind One Piece when it comes to, is there a new chapter on Sunday? I'm reading it right now. Like, I'm behind. I was away most of yesterday, and you know what 2 of like the dozen series I'm keeping up with? You know the 2 that I read? Haven't touched the rest of them. I read One Piece, and I read Martial Master Asumi. They're my faves. There's a bunch of others I like and enjoy and love. Those are my go-tos, so. And that has been Martial Master Asumi. Thank you for listening to this episode of Shonen Jumping the Gun. Brad, hit me with them plugs.
Yeah, so as always, we want to thank Sugoi Mart for partnering with us. Sugoi Mart is a retailer of Japanese snacks, drinks, toys, and merch. They have a lot of cool stuff you can't get outside of Japan. If you check the link in the description or use code APR15 at checkout, you get 15% off your first order, which also helps us out. And you can let us know what you think on social media, which you can find links for on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. You can also leave comments about these podcast episodes and find other posts and reviews. And we've got a Discord where you can come and chat with us. You can also check us out on Patreon. Our supporters get perks like getting to vote on which series to cover on our Heroin Addiction episodes, as well as getting the high-quality stereo version of the podcast early. And we'd love to hear what perks you'd like. And of course, we can't forget our patrons. At our Reincarnator tier, we have Moon, friend of the show and moderator on the r/Otome Isekai subreddit, as well as Cake Dwarf. And at our merchant tier, we've got Kill Hour. And last but certainly not least, at our commoner tier, Rena. Thanks so much to all our patrons.
One more time, thanks for listening, and make sure you check out our mainline podcast, That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, on this very feed. And Brad, I'm gonna hit you with the rollin' DDT.
I don't even know what that is.
That's a thing. One time, a long time ago, Macho Man Randy Savage was on the Space Ghost Coast to Coast as, I believe, Space Ghost's granddad or his dad or some relation to him. And at one point he says, I'm going to hit you with the rollin' DDT, which I don't think is a move. Macho Man Randy Savage also once elbow dropped a hamster on the Weird Al show.
Okay.
You can have that one for free.